Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for the question. So there are a lot of opportunities that are good enough for the youth, and especially when they want to make a return within the short term. We know that economic times are challenging, so I mean, at the end of the day, someone has to balance. Are you investing? Are you spending money in terms of your upkeep? So, for instance, within the Kenyan space, we have money market funds, and these are low risk and ideally short term kind of investments with around 29 registered providers, unit trust or collective investment schemes. So, for instance, at CIC Asset Management, we have the largest unit trust portfolio within Kenya, and we've seen a lot of Kenyans actually learn more about money market funds, with around 1.1 million Kenyans having invested in unit trust as a whole as at March of 2024. So for instance, at CIC, we'll offer you a return of 13.7%, and this is income that you're actually earning on a daily basis, and then we compound that interest and whatever you've earned on a monthly basis. And also the ease of investing in this kind of product is usually quite easy. I think with the advent of technology, there's an application, for instance, on the Play Store or on the iOS Store. It's called the CIC Asset application, as well as online, or someone can also reach out to us via email if they prefer. I don't want to call it old school, but filling in forms and so on and so forth, so that we can, so that someone actually starts this journey of investing. So 13.7% is a good return for the kind of low risk that you're actually taking.
Okay, and you'll be telling us about that and how much somebody needs to dig in to know exactly how much money I can invest for long term and how much money I can invest for long term. Sure. We are also keeping tabs with what is happening in Nyanza, where the head of state has been on a working tour. I think it's a 4-day working tour. And today in the morning, he did launch a water project at Oyugis, and moments ago. And let's hear what the head of state had to say. As we wait for that clip, later on today, the head of state will have a town hall experience. Okay, let's first of all hear what the head of state had to say.
Mnakaa nyinyi ni wale wa kuchagua jembe. Sisi tulikubaliana kazi ni kazi. Ama unasemaje? Mko tayari? Vile vile katika hiyo program tuko na program pia ya markets, na tumekubaliana hapa Homa Bay County tunajenga soko mpya 11, na kwa hizo soko mpya 11 tayari soko 7 zinaendelea saa hii nikiongea na nyinyi. Zile zingine tunafanya procurement ili tuhakikishe kwamba wananchi wa hapa, kina mama mboga, wanafanya kazi mahali kuna heshima, mahali kuna maji, mahali kuna stima, mahali kuna usafi, ndio tuhakikishe ya kwamba biashara ya kila mtu inaendeshwa kwa taratibu ya sawasawa. Tumekubaliana jameni? Pia tumekubaliana na huyu Gladys ya kwamba mambo ya afya tunaanza pale mashinani. Ndio mnaona community health promoters wako hapa. Mnaona hawa warembo hawa na wangwana. Tumesema ya kwamba kila kijiji tuwe na muuguzi, community health promoter. Anaweza kupima mambo yako ya afya. Anaweza kupima kama uko na ugonjwa wa sukari, ama uko na ugonjwa wa saratani, ama uko na ugonjwa ya mambo ya pressure, ama uko na magonjwa yale mengine yote, na akusaidie, akuambie lini utaenda hospitali. Na mpango yetu sasa, mbali na ile tulikuwa nayo NHIF, nyinyi mnajua NHIF ilikuwa ni ya wale watu wako na kazi, lakini wananchi wengi hawana kazi. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Tukasema tunabadilisha sasa delivery ya afya. Sasa afya haitakuwa ya wale watu wako na kazi peke yake. Ndio tumetengeneza Social Health Insurance Fund, ambayo haijalishi kama uko na kazi ama hauna kazi, wewe unaweza kujisajili. Wale wako na pesa watalipa, na yule mwananchi ambaye hana pesa, serikali ya Kenya itakulipia. Ndio kila mwananchi aweze kwenda hospitali atibiwe na aende nyumbani bila ya kuulizwa pesa, because we want to make health universal. Na ndio sababu mimi nataka niwashukuru hawa wabunge, wamenisaidia, tumebadilisha sheria. Sasa tuko na sheria 4 mpya ambayo itatusaidia kuendesha mambo ya universal health coverage, and we want to make health truly universal by making sure that every citizen has an opportunity either to get insurance or to be treated in hospitals paid for by the government of Kenya. Na mimi nataka nimshukuru Gladys kwa sababu hawa community health promoters, mimi na yeye tunawapanga. Ama namna gani jameni? Tuko pamoja watu wa Temo, watu wa Kabondo Kasbul, tuko pamoja. Mnasema tuendelee. Hiyo ndio kazi mimi nimekujia hapa Homa Bay, kwa sababu sisi sasa ile kazi iko, sio maneno yetu kama viongozi. Nyinyi kama wananchi mlitupigia kura, ni kweli ama si kweli? Si mlituchagua, mkachagua MCA, mjumbe mkachagua, senator na governor mkachagua. Bado hivyo uchaguzi mwingine hapa katikati. Sasa tumesema mambo ya viongozi wananchi walimaliza. Ile kazi iko sasa, ni sisi viongozi tuwafanyie nyinyi kazi. Ama namna gani jameni? Nyinyi mnataka tuendelee kuongea mambo ya viongozi ama mambo ya wananchi? Si tuongee mambo ya wananchi sasa. Tuwapangie barabara na stima na maji na kusomesha watoto. Si uchaguzi mwingine iko huko mbele. Ile mtu atafanya kazi, si atapatiwa ingine. Mtu akizubaa si apelekwe nyumbani. Ama mnasemaje? Tuko pamoja? Tushakubaliana? So ndugu zangu, watu wa hapa Kabondo Kasbul, mimi nataka niwashukuru sana. Mimi nataka niwaulize, kwa sababu nyinyi mnaelewa, mimi na Mheshimiwa Raila Omolo Odinga tulikubaliana ya kwamba hii Kenya lazima tuweke siasa ya kuunganisha Wakenya. Na ndio mimi nikatengeneza baraza la mawaziri la kuunganisha Wakenya wote, ili tuondoe ubaguzi, tuondoe mirengo, tuondoe ukabila, tuwaweke Wakenya pamoja, kwa sababu Mungu alijua ni sababu gani sisi ni watu wa nchi moja. We are one people of one nation with a common destiny, and that is why we have decided that we are going to form a government that is going to unite all the people of Kenya without minding their political formation or their community or their tribe or their region. We are all one people. Mimi nauliza nyinyi watu wa Kabondo Kasbul jameni, watu wa Homa Bay, mnakubali tuungane ama mnasema tuendelee kutengana? Mnakubali tuunganishe Kenya? Tuunganishe Kenya.
As the head of state earlier on in Homa Bay County, and to be specific, he was in Oyugis, where he launched a water project. They are emphasizing on the need for us to remain united as a country and for development. And later on today, he will be having a town hall engagement with the residents of Kisumu, and we'll be bringing you that live as well. But just in case you joined us, this is Biz Check. We are looking at investment opportunities in the country, and we'll be delving a little bit deeper on the money market funds. What exactly are they and how exactly do they work? I have three experts in their field here to help us drive that agenda. Remember, we're also live on our social media spaces, so feel free to also dig in at that. We'll be bringing you a comprehensive report on the President's 4-day tour of Nyanza in our subsequent bulletin. But now let's go back to our live and candid discussion. Cesar, how has Kenya addressed some of the challenges associated in doing business? And we've had sometimes people complain about punitive taxes. We've had sometimes people talk about regulatory challenges as well.
Tax is always a contentious issue, but people have to pay tax anyway. How Kenya has assisted in growing investments, I can link it to public-private participation, where the government is trying to create an enabling environment in the manner in which it presents its taxation policies, but as well as on the other side, when you look at the private participants and also the NGO perspectives, where they come in to assist, to aid different forms of trade, and also create business incubation centers to nurture young talents, to nurture the youth in terms of matters entrepreneurship. There are a number of centers. When you think of Chandaria Business Center, there is a program, or rather a circle at the Strathmore University, the iCube, where young people come together to be mentored on how to manage or even package their business ideas, which have the potential of scaling in a bigger perspective, not only in Kenya, but in the continent at large.
Eric, I'm looking at the money market fund. In simpler terms, what exactly is it and how does it differ from things like even bonds? And how can you make money from it?
Okay, so a money market fund is a collective investment scheme. So a money market fund, by its definition, it means it's for investors who are interested in investing in short-term instruments. So the underlying investments in the money market funds normally would be treasury bills, treasury bonds, bank deposits, largely short-term investments that earn you interest. And the interest, as Dennis has mentioned, is interest that you would be accruing every day and earning something small every day. So this would be maybe a replacement for money you have in the bank that you're not immediately using. And if you're not using money now, in money market funds, you can come in and go fairly quickly. Britain Money Market Fund, for example, if you are to invest today or request for your money today morning, then in a day you'll probably have your money back in your account. And the operations of the money market funds are very simple. Any actions you're doing, like I mentioned, can be done through the phone, digital, they're very efficient. Britain will have a USSD code, so if you do *778#, then you can follow the prompts and do whatever you're doing very efficiently. We've also gone AI, and we have, we're trying to embrace new technology and what's happening, and we have a chatbot. So if you dial 0705 100 100, just go to WhatsApp and say hi. And there's someone called Bella on the other side who will engage
How
you.
much are we talking about? Because we're talking about the turnaround time in terms of if you want your money back to be even a day. And that's an investment a lot of Kenyans would be very, very much interested in. How much are we talking about, for example?
In terms of minimum investments, you can start with as little as 100 shillings.
Really?
Yes. 100 shillings, you can do it now, you can do it anywhere. It's meant to be efficient. It's meant to be reachable to everyone, from the student in campus to the very wealthy person who has a lot of money and they just want somewhere where it can be earning interest. I think for the young people, it's important to get that savings culture and for us to start early. Because if you think about it, you start work when you're maybe 24. You work until you're 24, you work until you're 60. So that's 36 years. And then you have, God blesses you with another 36 years, which you need to live on what you've been working on that short period of time. So the culture of savings, that's why we need to allow even the smallest investor to be able to start, that journey of saving, that journey of investing, to be able to grow their wealth and also secure their financial future.
Dennis, I'm looking at the money market and what are some of the key benefits of investing in 8 of our other investment options which are there, including bonds.
Yeah, I think reason why perhaps we are talking maybe a lot about money market funds is because of the ease of access of actually investing into money market funds. And so with the different money market funds, you'll have different minimum investment sizes, but generally they are very low, they're very affordable. And so other than the ease of actually being able to invest and access, and it's not that complicated, there's also the liquidity aspect. As Eric has mentioned, for instance, you could be able to get monies, your funds back within a day. So basically, in terms of planning your goals and in case even an emergency were to arise, you are actually able to get value from this investment. Another critical aspect, I think, about money market funds, and now which again now ties into to all the rest, is that the rate of return at which you're getting is significantly higher than what you'd get, for instance, if your money was just in your bank account.
More or less like a fixed deposit.
Yes. But you see, even with a fixed deposit, it's like a contract, because you fix that money with a bank for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. For money market funds, it depends on when you actually need the funds. Yeah, because when you look at the statistics, for instance, from the Central Bank of Kenya, I think there were around 6.4 trillion Kenya shillings in deposits as at the end of last year. And when you look at, for instance, the amount of money in money market funds, it's around 230 billion Kenya shillings. Whilst when you invest within money market funds, you actually earn a higher rate of return than if those funds were actually lying within your bank account. So I think rule of thumb, and I guess that's what we're trying to educate our viewers, is first of all, plan and budget how you're going to spend whatever amounts of money that you have. Set down your goals. Put monies in the money market funds as part of your goal setting process. Be it you want to buy furniture, be it you want to go on a trip, be it you want to pay school fees for your child at one point of time. Money market funds will act as that tool and that vehicle that will actually get there safely. Remember, these are low risk investments, so the possibilities of you losing your capital are quite minimal. Now, you mentioned bonds. Bonds are another avenue for actually investing, but they bring in a bit of complexity and also market forces. So you can buy a bond or invest in a bond at a particular price and value, but when it comes to actually exit that particular asset, the value could be lower or it could be higher. So you see there's an element of risk in government bonds, and in essence, government bonds are long-term kind of investments, and where the liquidity is not as high as what you'd see in money market funds. Yeah.
Andrew, why is it that a lot of Kenyans are not quite embracing this? Because the figures that you're talking about in a country of more than 50 million people, and the risk that Dennis has mentioned is quite low, but a lot of people are not embracing this. The money market fund, the bonds, they are not quite embracing. What could be the challenge here? And what are some of the risk involved in these ventures?
Okay, I want to believe young people don't have adequate resources in terms of excess funds that are lying idle. Also, historically, there is the issue to do with Ponzi schemes. I'm not discrediting these two gentlemen over here who are presenting the products which are very competitive currently in the market. But there has been this idea with Ponzi schemes where they promise unusually high returns with very little risk, and they are consistently marketing returns regardless of the fluctuating market environment. Also, on the same regard, there has been an issue to do with unregistered investments, or rather unregistered investment products, which make people shy of, I'd say that. But also, I want to look at it from this perspective of financial literacy. In as much as the ratings are high in our countries, or rather in Kenya, But still, there is a large population of young people who do not have access to that information, to the right information. And if that information is accessible to that particular group of people, the issue would be, is the information provided in a manner that is easily understandable to them? Those are some of my
Brian Andrew has a very, very interesting point, because the last, let's say 2 months, we have seen issues of people depositing money and that money just disappears. We had an issue in Eldoret, we have a new one here in Nairobi, and those are just the ones that have made their way to the media. Yeah. What's some of the risk involved in money markets, and what should you consider if you want to venture? Anyone who is watching it would want to venture into MMFs.
I think not only money markets, but also general investments.
Yes.
You need to do your homework in terms of, because there's no magic to return or profit. In most cases, be it a business that you have, be it the schemes that Andrew is mentioning, someone comes and tells you, you give us this amount of money, and we'll give you these times back. Then the question is, how are they doing it? Because, like I'm saying, there's no magic in business. There's no magic in investing. Most of these things, once you check behind the curtain, you can see the mechanics of how everything works and how the return is generated, which is the same thing with money market funds. In my view, money market funds, or rather, all money market funds should be are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority, and they have a governance framework where you have the fund manager, who is the one who decides where the money is being put, guided, of course, by the framework given by the CMA, who's also monitoring. Then you have a trustee, who is an oversight body. Normally, they're banks. Then you have a custodian, who actually holds the assets of the fund. So in most cases, money market funds should be secure because of that governance framework. I know, sometimes you may have seen challenges where even investments have gone bad, but the first step is that, is the investment, how's you're going to? Is it registered? Is it regulated? Have they had any issues? And of course, there's a case for companies that have been there for a long time, because there's a track record of security for clients. You can tell some of these companies, we found them there and we leave them there. So I think that those are the main things you should just look out for as you go into any investments, not just money market funds.
And Dennis, what I've heard from Eric here is that a lot of people would want to shy away from that. But what are some of the tax implications of investing in money market funds? Because sometimes you find people shy away from investing in something because of the tax implications that come along with the investment plan.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so in terms of tax implications, I know generally it's widely accepted that taxes have to be paid. But the government, I think through the regulator, the Capital Markets Authority, in a bid to actually encourage investors to actually save, and more so the youth, to actually be able to start their investment journey. So from a tax perspective, taxes for money market funds are generally not there, so that to encourage investors to actually be able to invest in this particular products. And even when you look further afield, when you look at other kinds of investments, for instance, if you are to go and get if you are going to actually invest, for instance, in bank deposit, the income will be taxed, and there's that withholding tax of 15%. Same as with government bonds. However, there's a specific, there's a subset of government bonds called infrastructure bonds that don't attract any kind of taxation. So ideally, the ecosystem has been developed so that it encourages a lot of people to actually save as well as invest in whatever goals that they are trying to achieve, or even even if it's for retirement and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Andrew, I'm looking at institutions, organizations who are also investing in the various money market funds that we have in the country. Why is audit and forensics very important to such institutions?
That's a very good question. But before I delve into that, I want to weigh in on what my brother Eric has said. I want to reaffirm the position of due diligence whenever you're taking or thinking of going into any investment. Because when you go through the company's background, or even doing elaborate research on the leadership structure of that organization, you should get some sense of confidence in some of the products that they offer. Because what happens is with enhanced corporate governance structures, you'll enjoy strong leadership and also great aspects of accountability. And these are essentially to help and guide ethical practices in the industry. On to the next question, where you've asked about the place for audits and forensics. Well, financial audits also provide investors with confidence in that the financial audits are essentially to verify financial statements and records to ensure that they indeed reflect the correct or the accurate position of the company. For the forensics part of it, forensics are more elaborate than the standard financial audits, in that the focus is on fraud, the fraud risk that we are trying to minimize to an acceptably low rating, because I believe you cannot totally prevent fraud because of that human limitations or interactions in these systems. So in matters forensics, with the elaborate or rather stretched scope, where we investigate fraud relating to misappropriation of assets or even embezzlement. So I think this is the general infrastructure for financial audits and forensics.
Eric, I'm looking at how to assess the risk and return for anything you're investing in, including the money market fund. Are there any tools to help you calculate that? You come from different institutions, maybe you have rates for such kind of investment, and then the other company has a different metric to maybe try to assess the kind of risk that you're getting into.
Okay, yeah, so when you're going into investments and you're trying to assess risk and return, and whether whatever you're investing in matches or is aligned with your risk profile. So the first things you probably look at is how long do you intend on investing? Because there's a risk with longer investments, because so many things could go bad in the middle. Shorter is perceived as less risky. Then also you need to, if you're investing in interest earning securities, like the government bonds, the bank deposits, it is generally viewed that the government is risk-free. When you're investing in Kenyan government securities in Kenya shilling, it's viewed that the government will pay you. So when you start from the government, then as you invest in other companies, are you investing in banks? Are you buying corporate bonds? Then you're building risk from there, where you start with the government is risk-free. So everything else you add a bit on top. So with this, you're reviewing various things about the company. You're reviewing its financials, historical performance, which, there's a lot to review, which is why we're actually encouraging people to invest in money market funds, because not everyone will go and look at the financials of multiple companies just to see whether when they give them money they'll get paid back. Not everyone will be monitoring these things every day. But this being something that we're doing and monitoring on a daily basis, then we're able to assess the risk for the investors, and just to ensure that when you invest in a money market fund, when you invest in a unit trust fund, you actually are investing in a low risk investment vehicle.
All right, and of course there's another function mostly tied up to what we are talking about in terms of financial literacy. The PCA Women Financial Literacy and Social Inclusion Training that is currently going on in Kikuyu, and Dr. Jennifer Riria, who is the President and CEO of Eco Network Africa Foundation, is currently addressing. Let's first of all listen in and then back to this discussion.
People who don't say, Lord help me today, how do they live? But I'm not the preacher because the preacher is here.
We do apologize for that technical hitch in regards to that feed, but we will be getting back to that. That is women empowerment, where the PCEA, Women Financial and Social Inclusion training, is currently underway. And in attendance also is Anne Derito, who is the registrar of political parties in the country. But the lady who was addressing that congregation was Dr. Jennifer Riria, who is the president and CEO of that institution. We'll be getting back to that as soon as we have a good feed in regards to that. What would advise people who would like to consider investing into money market funds, unit trusts, government bonds as well? What are some of the pointers that they should, or the boxes that they should tick?
All right. So I'll start with for instance, with money market funds. I think first of all, an investor would best will actually first of all have to identify which money market fund provider or money market that they actually want to invest in, because as I mentioned earlier, there are quite a number, and as Eric mentioned, there is a bit of safety in terms of going with a provider who has been there for a while and who has a track record. In as much as an old institution can still fail, it gives someone a bit of confidence that they can actually be able to invest their money safely without any kind of issue or challenge. Another thing would also be to look at the kind of values or the philosophies of the institutions that are actually managing these particular funds, because again, it dictates a bit of the style of investing, in as much as the assets are the same, more or less, given that money market funds ideally are supposed to invest in short-term securities, for instance, your treasury bills, your fixed deposits, call deposits, and a bit of commercial paper, if it's available and the issuer is of high quality. And then the other thing would also be, for instance, the ease of access of your funds. I know we've talked about the advent of technology and how easy it is through applications, through web platforms to actually be able to access your funds, because now this ties into how the money market fund provider actually services you as the client, And then again, there would be also the client service that you actually do receive from your chosen money market fund. For instance, do you receive regular updates? For instance, a monthly fact sheet that basically just shows you the composition of that money market fund, as well as the kind of return.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Kindly hold the thought. If we get back to Kikuyu, where we are talking about women financial literacy that has been organized by Econ Network, and the feed is now clear. Let's first of all hear what they have to say before we get back here.
Umeokoka kwa hivyo you don't need money. Is that true? Mimi nimeokoka. I've worked with women for 42 years. Nikiambia wakina mama, get some money. Put that money in useful business or something useful, and you'll be able to feed your family. You will be able to go to hospital when you are sick. You will be able to say no, because you are not depending on anybody to help you, and you'll help your family. So we work with the women, not for women. We work with women for family and for society. Tuko pamoja? Wasiseme hii ni kazi ya wanawake. Hii ni kazi ya This is work for Kenya. We are working for Kenya as mothers. That is one. But work as mothers for Kenya, you need to know why, where are the resources? You have the Women Fund. We have the UESO Fund. We have all these funds from government. Your hands were 2 out of 300 when we asked how many know anything about. Why? So for me, I don't want to talk about it because I brought people to talk to you about it. So that's one. That's why we are here. 2, we are here to know, to be told, and to understand. It is important for women to remain healthy. How many times do you go to the doctor to look at you when you are not sick? Which we call healthy check. Let's see your hand. An healthy woman leads an healthy family. An healthy family is an healthy society. And I don't mean only una many. A small story. I went to the village last weekend. 4 women, 2 men, to me and said, help us. Mukubwa, help us. They call me Mukubwa, and I don't know why. Help us. I said, why? They said, this village is finished. I said, what has finished it? Girls are being raped. Women can't go to the river. And when they're raped, they get pregnant, then drop out of school. I'm in the process. I've written letters to whoever matters in this country regarding rape in that village. But I'm challenging mothers. Why didn't women wake up and go to the chief and frog march him and tell him, you are the one who holds the key here. Get the criminals. So mothers, we need to think. I heard Pastor talking about the same. Mothers, we can stop it. If one of our daughters is raped, we need to wake up as mothers. Am I inciting you? Yes. I'm inciting you to do the correct thing. Wake up and get the authorities. This is the voice we are saying you should have. There is a chief in your place. There is a commissioner in your place. There is more and in your place. Go to them. Tell them this today, we are going to solve it today. That is the women's role. To act on behalf of the society. And because it's very important.
There has been Dr. Jennifer Riria, who is the CEO of Eco Network Africa. There is a financial literacy training that is currently underway in Kikuyu, and Joseph Wahungu is keeping tabs with what is happening there and will bring us more detailed coverage in regards to that. But let's come back to my interview here. We have Andrew Caesar, investment and audit expert from Brian from Forensic. We also have Eric Karanja, who is the asset manager, Britam Assets, and Dennis Maranga, who is the portfolio manager at CIC Asset Management. We are looking at more or less like the fintech. That is how fintech now is playing into transforming the Kenyan financial market. We've looked at money market fund and also bonds, that are some of the options that Kenyans have in terms of investing. Coming to you, Andrew, what role is fintech playing in the transforming the Kenya financial market? And are there any specific innovations that we should be looking out for?
Thank you very much once again. Fintech, I believe, is under the digital economy, and there has been a lot going on in this space. When you talk of payment processing solutions via digital systems and platforms, that has been, again, game changer. I think we can all agree on that. So, in my opinion, I believe there is so much that is going out there. Yeah.
What about foreign investment? Whatever we're talking about is not only Kenyans who can invest in this, in your companies, right? What is bringing in investors? Is it the economy is robust? And what could be driving them away? I think this is a two-way traffic.
Okay.
We have foreign investors in your various investment products?
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
I think for foreign investors, most of the foreign investors that actually invest locally in the unit trust funds, in the money market funds, are largely diaspora investors who are Kenyans abroad, who are either sending money home, mm-hmm. or they want to come back in some time in future, and they want to make sure by the time they come back, they have secured their financial future, and their monies are working for them. But also, Kenya as a country and as an investment destination, there's been a lot of optimism around the plans that the country has had in terms of trying to get to the Vision 2030 status of being a much more developed economy. Mm-hmm. And that has brought a lot of investments, not only within the unit trust funds and the money market funds, but in the country and around infrastructure, especially. Mm. Around the risks for foreign investors coming in, number one risk, which is any foreign investor will tell you, is currency. If an investor in dollars comes in, mm-hmm. And the shilling moves to 160 like it was earlier in the year, yeah. And the break came in at around 120, then that's already a loss, even before they start earning any money with the investments they've done here. So currency movements have been a major issue here, which can be a hindrance to getting foreign investments. But in moments when we've had a stable currency, or rather where the depreciation is not too drastic, or it's gradual, mm-hmm. and you can almost tell how much it will depreciate by then, foreign interest at that time is normally bigger, just because there's that security of you will not lose everything you have earned, be it in a money market fund, be it in any sort of project that you've invested in, because the currency has depreciated. Yes.
Dennis, I'm looking at financial literacy, and especially the state of financial literacy in Kenya. You hear somebody in the two schemes that we've had in the last 1 month, you hear somebody say, I've lost 10 million, I've lost 5 million, I even brought my church congregation, I brought in. What is the level of financial literacy in Kenya? And I'm saying this because you guys come from very big companies who should be also educating Kenyans on some of these investments, as opposed to some that we are having that somebody gets a couple of millions and then disappears with that money?
Yeah, indeed, it is sad to see such cases where a lot of Kenyans are swindled from their hard-earned cash investments. So from a training perspective, we do offer trainings to a lot of our clients, and you would know that, for instance, CIC is very tied in with the cooperative movement, and through that we usually disseminate a lot of material in terms of financial literacy, as well as our financial advisors and agents. There are over 1,000 agents around Kenya. They actually also do that, so that when they come to you, they do at least give you some information or training regarding the investment space within Kenya, and from there try to look at what investment opportunity actually fits your particular needs. And then I would believe that the onus should also be with Kenyans to a degree, given that the age of information that we are currently in, where a lot of this information is widely and easily available through various platforms, be it you go to YouTube and you just search money market funds, you will get a lot of Kenyans actually talking about that, as well as, for instance, through websites such as our website, there's a whole trove of information about it. Now, I think perhaps now the critical issue to move us forward so that money market funds, for instance, can become a byword that everyone speaks about and knows. It's just to keep educating a lot of people throughout all platforms, be it on radio, be it on television, like right now, be it in the newspapers, so that one can actually be able to get into the right kind of investments, and more so the right kind of investments are regulated investments. For instance, for the cases that you've given examples on, those are not regulated investments. So at the end of the day, I believe as an individual, you should ask yourself, what kind of risk am I willing to take? More times than not, if the return is too good to be true, then that is the case. There's something amiss there. You'd rather get a lower, although decent return consistently over time with a regulated entity, because, for instance, the Capital Markets Authority mandates money market funds and other unit trust providers to provide them with regular updates. And these reports are usually quite detailed, so you can see the level of oversight in terms of the government actually protecting investors who go through the regulated and proper channels of investments.
Andrew, why is it so important, if I want to invest in the financial market, to engage the services of experts, accountants, auditors, investment managers like the three managers I have here?
It's important to seek third party or an additional eyes from a third party or an individual who will come in to provide another set of eyes to view the investment from a different perspectives. This is essentially to ensure that you get the right information to avoid any pitfalls or red flags along the path. And what I'd prescribe is you need to consult from registered financial advisors or even finance professionals who are part of a professional body which is very reputable, whether it's in the country or one of those global professional bodies. Yeah.
And how are policies of the central bank? Because all this has to be regulated by the central bank, right?
Well, the unit trust funds and money market funds are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority, with the central bank regulating banks. So in the investment space, the regulatory body there is the Capital Markets Authority. For unit trust and basically any firm doing any sort of investment activities, For pensions, it's the Retirement Benefits Authority. And the regulator, the Capital Markets Authority, has issued licenses to various companies that have met the minimum requirements to set up and run various unit trust funds. And like Dennis mentioned, we're expected to provide regular updates to the regulator on the status of the fund, on where the funds are invested, and on how, where you've invested, how is it performing, which clients have come, which clients have go. So there's a lot of information that is provided to the regulator that should be able to, normally the regulator would then be able to pick out if there are any issues with the fund and if there are any risks that come about.
And does it also include interest rates, inflation, and also the economic growth?
What, the information to
the regulator?
Well, not really, because the information to the regulator is information specific to the unit trust fund. So what rate have you been giving? Yes, you will provide that. What assets have you invested in? What is maturing? How long? Basically all the underlying details of the fund. Because things like inflation now, those are external factors. That's to do with the general economy, which in most cases the regulator maybe has that information for themselves.
Dennis, what are some of how is capital market performing, and some things like equities, bonds, and other securities performing in the country at the moment?
Thank you. Yeah.
And does it affect other investment policies as well?
Yes. Yeah. So the general economic environment does affect all the investments that you actually do within the, for instance, the Kenyan economy. So if we start, for instance, with the stock market, the stock market, the Nairobi Securities Exchange is quite a vibrant market. However, just because of a lot of global economic issues which do filter in to us, for instance, in terms of currency depreciation and so on and so forth. So it has had a bad run for the past 2 years, where we saw some negative returns. However, this year the return has been broadly positive with the general return. So for instance, if you had invested in the stock market as at 31st December of last year, and then when you look at the 28th of August, the return in general, when you look at the whole market, is around 14%, which is quite decent. When you look at government bonds, so generally the values of government bonds are usually determined by the interest rate environment, and we've been in a high interest rate environment for a while, until much recently the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank actually dropped the central bank rate, and what this means is that and the Monetary Policy Committee, by dropping that rate, they're signaling to the market that interest rates ought to come lower. So there are bonds that would give you a high interest rate, yes, but there are some mechanics in terms of buying those bonds and selling those bonds, the actual value that you actually do spend in actually buying those particular bonds. Now, earlier on, you'd asked a question about the central bank and how it now factors into all of this, and Eric mentioned that the Central Bank of Kenya regulates banks broadly, but you can see through its monetary policy function, it sets a tone in terms of where interest rates are supposed to be, and now that cascades down to banks, for instance, in terms of the bank deposits that we are getting, as well as now the interest rates that we can actually be able to get from bonds, and which we will eventually give our clients or any particular investor who's investing in these markets. Yes.
Andrew, I'm looking at the capital markets. What are the key drivers of investment in equities, bonds, and also in securities?
I think Eric and Dennis have delved into it elaborately.
Yeah. Maybe Eric?
Yeah.
Can touch on that?
Yes. I think there are a lot of factors that affect the performance of equities and bonds. So if I was just to highlight on a high level things like equities, so we saw equities perform really poorly in the last 2 years. I think 2023 and 2022 combined, probably 50% down. And then we saw some positive thing happen, then they did well early in the year. And when you try to think about the factors that led to that, so one, there's a macro issue, because companies invest in the economy. So if there are concerns about the economy itself, then investors will shy away from the companies that are investing and operating in the economy. So in moments like last year, there was a lot of concerns around, will the Eurobond get repaid? There's all this huge debt that the government is expected to pay. So a lot of investors, especially foreign investors, then fled the market, leading to a downturn in equities. That's just an example of how the macro environment will affect equity performance. Then also there's now company-specific factors. So how well is the industry performing? So if you're looking at banks, how well is the banking industry performing? How well is the specific bank that you're analyzing performing? And then valuations. So when analyzing equities, we do valuations to find the true value of a stock based on the analysis. And then based on the true value, then you can determine whether is it underpriced, is it overpriced. So stock specific, but also the main factors are also the macro factors like I started with. So that's generally it's a lot of things that affect market performance and stock performance. And on bonds, the same thing. So on bonds, there's issues to do with interest rates. So the valuation of bonds is affected by how interest rates are moving, whether they're moving up or down. And rates also are affected by the same macro factors, the same factors about how the economy is doing, how much does the government need to borrow. So if the government is borrowing a lot, you will see rates go up because there's that demand for them borrowing more. So the more they borrow, the more expensive the borrowing gets. And that also like transmits to the economy and to other factors, to other sectors. Because as government borrows more and more expensively, and that means even you and I, when we go to the bank and we want to borrow, then we borrow more expensively. And we find it harder to pay because we're paying over 20% interest rates. So when you're analyzing stocks, equities and bonds, then it's multiple factors that you need to look at all the time in a constantly changing environment just to be able to determine what the right steps are, which maybe brings to the question you asked earlier to Andrew, why do you choose a professional to help guide you through this journey? Because there are a lot of things to look at. As an individual, maybe you either don't have the skill or don't have the time to do a deep dive into what you may require to be able to make the right decisions.
And Andrew, I'm looking at also the Capital Markets Authority and the central bank being regulators. How would their policies affect investment into the financial market? And how would they affect the financial market in terms of the policies that they have in place?
Okay, from a regulator perspective, I think they give confidence to the potential investors that there is an avenue for redress or even dispute resolution. An avenue in the sense that when there is an issue, a potential investor can always run to some of these regulators to communicate some of the challenges that they are facing and seek guidance on the avenues for further avenues or options for redress.
And the diaspora is really helping out in the Kenyan financial market. What are some of the incentives that they should be given to invest more in the Kenya financial market as opposed to investing out there?
Yes, indeed, the Kenyan diaspora has has played quite a big role within the Kenyan financial space. We've seen data every time the central bank reports that diaspora remittances are strong. And basically that means that they have confidence in the Kenyan financial markets. Now, in terms of incentives regarding what they can, how more they can be incentivized to invest in Kenya, other than the return, and perhaps that they are Kenyans, and hopefully one day they will return back to Kenya. It would be the ease of actual transmitting of funds from wherever they are in the diaspora to Kenya, to financial markets, and this has actually been eased quite well over the past couple of years. I remember a long time ago, perhaps in the 90s, when someone was actually trying to send funds from abroad, the general avenues you'd go to would be perhaps through money orders or posta, or through other money transfer services, which are usually quite expensive. But in this day and age, and perhaps through the central bank and how it regulates that particular space, one can actually be able to transact and send monies within a very short space of time, within an hour or so, and it's received in a bank account elsewhere. Look at e-commerce platforms, for instance, where you just key in perhaps your debit card or credit card details, or any other avenue. You can actually be able to buy things online abroad, and then they come to you. Other incentives that that have actually come through, for instance, linkages between I think M-Pesa with PayPal, where again monies can be able to be sent in an instant and into your M-Pesa, real time actually, into your M-Pesa wallet, for instance. And this has been through the efforts of government, and more so the Central Bank of Kenya, regarding financial, how money is transmitted, the ease of transmitting money into Kenya and out of Kenya. And that usually gives confidence to a lot of investors, be they foreign investors or Kenyans within the diaspora. So I believe a bit more of this would really encourage a lot more Kenyans within the diaspora to actually invest funds back home within our financial market.
Yeah, and because of the interest of time, Andrew, I'm looking at why should Kenyans be investing into the financial market, so to speak, and why should they use the experts like you guys as opposed to them venturing into that market?
That's a very good question. Why they should use us is that we are credible. Some of us are certified professionals, and like I alluded to much earlier, is that we are part of a professional body, whether it's within the country or a global professional body, which is governed by a set of a code of professional ethics, where you need to abide by some, all, not some, all of these ethical requirements. Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think when you come to the professionals, you get true value. When you join us at Britam Asset Managers, we give ease of access. We take all our time trying to give you the best return, best risk-weighted return that we've discussed. The company has been around for 65 years. It's before probably anyone on this panel was born, and it will be around hopefully long after we are gone. So you can be sure that there's a bit of solidity in that, and there's a bit of confidence that investors should be comfortable coming in, knowing that a lot of time and care is being taken to manage their funds and make sure they are well taken care of.
Dennis, why should the Kenyans invest in the financial market, and why should they incorporate the services of experts like you, because we have seen millions of Kenyans have been conned of their hard-earned money?
Yeah, thank you. So the financial services space is the lifeblood of the Kenyan economy, and why it is important for Kenyans to actually invest in it. It's because you don't want to lose you don't want to be a loser or miss out on the Kenyan investment story or investment growth. We see a lot of foreign investors coming to invest in Kenya every single day through through FDI programs and so on and so forth. So there is something that also foreigners are seeing within Kenya. Now, investing within the financial services space and investing, for instance, through CIC asset management, number one, we are regulated. So rest assured that your investments are safe with us at the end of the day. And then being a financial services professional, I am also regulated in my own personal capacity through certain certifications, and it is my duty to do the best for you, and basically to invest the funds or your funds as best as I can. So I put you ahead of any other interests that I may have or the company might actually have. And lastly, why it's important to go through a professional is because we are trained in this. We know where the gaps are, or we know what particular risk to actually look out for, because yes, this information is there, but the devil is in the detail in a lot of specialized fields. Not to say that this field is complex or that you cannot be able to do it and understand it yourself, but come to us. We'll hold your hand as you start your investment journey, or as you continue with your investment journey. We constantly keep assessing the level of risk within our investments, and we communicate the same to you quite regularly, so that you are also involved in your investment journey.
All right. Last but not least, Andrew?
I'm speaking to the potential investors out there. There is need to diversify on your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but in the case that you do, make sure you watch over them keenly. We are talking of you need to exercise caution, in the sense that not everything attractive is valuable. And lastly, we are talking of resilience and patience. Rome wasn't built in one day, so good things take time, and you need to think long term.
Thank you, Andrew Caesar. Well said. Not everything is attractive that is valuable. That is Andrew Caesar, an investment audit expert and also the audit manager at Brian Forensics. Just next to him, we have Eric Karanja, who is the portfolio manager and asset manager at Britam Assets, and Dennis Maranga, who is the portfolio manager at CIC Asset Management. Thank you so much for joining us on Biz Check. My name is Ben Troy Njue, and Brian Muraru has been our sign language interpreter for this live program. I'm now giving the baton to the Swahili desk. I can see Kasichana Masha is ready to update you with the latest news, and also on Kurunzi Mashinani. You have yourself a blessed afternoon.